Oh, is that comfortable? Okay, that's better. He was laying with his butt up on the bottom because it didn't look right. Hey, what's up, garden friends? Jeff here. How's everybody? Hope you're doing well. I'm great. It is a beautiful morning. Happy to have been able to say that in my last several videos. It's just so nice how we've reached that time of year where the mornings they're not crisp by any means, but you know, you don't step outside and just immediately feel like you're swamped in sweat. Anyways, I got some new plants here. I unpackaged them. They showed up last night, and I wanted to get them out of the box, but it's a little bit too dark to film. And then somebody who was well-meaning grabbed the box and took it to recycling. I was going to show everything, but I can't because it's gone now. Great garden plants. I've ordered from them before. I did a video this spring, I believe, and I love their packaging. I'll just describe it to you, everything. There's 5 plants here, 4 perennials, 1 houseplant. Right there, that one. This beautiful little guy hiding behind the tag. And they were in cardboard sleeves with the little indents that keep them from moving around, and they just slid right out from each end. Easiest unboxing ever. I love getting things from Great Garden Plants. I think this is only the second time. But anyway, so you missed the part where I cut open the box and showed you what was inside. It was packaged well. That's the best I can do there. I'm sorry, you thought I had something for you. I don't. I'm sorry, Turbo. I wish I did. I should have brought some cookies out here. Well, let's start with the one that's right in front of us, right? Y'all can already see it. This is one of the Art and Soul mangaves, and this one is called Thunderbird. It's a smaller mangave that takes on a nice reddish freckling. You see that? Look at that, the reddish freckling. But that's with more sunlight. I believe this goes 8 to 10 inches high. Let's double check on that, though. It's been a minute since I did this order. Smaller size succulent has thick, flat leaves that are almost completely covered with dark red spots for eye-catching appeal. The leaves form an upright, refined rosette. Is there a size? Oh, it's all the way down here. 8 to 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches wide, so it's 8 to 12 inches tall. I didn't really clarify that. Full sun, mangaves like a lot of light, zones 9 to 11. So, not hardy for a lot of people. I do recommend, if you're a zone 8er, give a lot of the mangaves a try. You know, I mean, obviously there's like budgetary things to think about there. But if you're trying to experiment, give them a lot of them a try. If you can track down the bloodline of your mangave, that is helpful. And then you can really have a better guess at how cold hardy they are. The Manfredas are pretty dang cold hardy. It's a Virginica or Virginica. Whatever. It's a native. I have some out here in the garden. They're very cold hardy. So you mix that blood in with some different agaves, and there are probably some mangaves that are pretty cold hardy. We just don't necessarily know it yet. But there are several that are good into 7B. So this isn't one of them, though. That's beyond the point, besides the point. I like the stature of this one. It's going to stay smaller, so this is going to be more suited for just indoor culture. That's what I was thinking, and I just love that red color. This doesn't have much of that yet, but you can see some hints of it in there. Mangaves, I just love them. So here's the deal. Agaves, you got to be really careful if they're watering. That's not an agave. Why am I looking at it? There's an agave. Right up there, past the wilted roses next to the dried up waterfall. And that's a Desmetiana, so not the best example. But a lot of the agaves, you really have to be careful if they're watering. Wet feet will kill them. Temperature depending, right? You know, if it's really hot out, they can handle some more moisture. But they shouldn't be sitting in waterlogged conditions. Neither should a mangave. But a mangave is a succulent that you can water with much more frequency, and you get a lot more growth out of them. These things grow so much faster. Agaves tend to be slow. Not necessarily slow. Some of them are pretty slow. Some of them are faster, but when you get the mangave hybrid right here, it's just so much faster. And because of that, it feels more rewarding. And this is going to be more suitable for houseplant size things. I have some other mangaves out here, like these Catch a Wave Art and Souls. They get pretty big, which is okay for in the house, but you know, this is something I could actually set up in a windowsill on the counter, something like that. The Thunderbird, and there's another one called Lavender Lady that I really enjoy for that, so thought I'd share that that's what this one is. Hopefully we'll get it some more sun here. I'm going to get it repotted and get some of that color to come out on it. This is a good size. This one has some growth in it, some offsets, I should say. Already there's what looks like maybe the start of one down in there. Another one right there, another one right there. So this has at least 3 offsets right here. Not all the mangaves. In fact, a lot of the mangaves don't offset so readily. So that's pretty cool. Good to know. There's some more in there that might make for a fun looking clump as that grows up. This showed up just in time. I'm getting ready to do a bunch of mangave repotting. I have those two right there, and I have some night owls I need to dig from their summer containers and get those potted up, and I have 2 more in the mail coming from Plant Delights. Yeah, apparently I got really into mangaves this year. I've always liked them, just, I don't know. Haven't wanted to devote the space to them, but they're just so easy and they grow so quickly. I've decided to jump back into the mangaves and start getting them going again. There's so many more to choose from than there were several years ago, too. Right? So when mangaves first became a thing, there were several, but it wasn't as vast, and some of them had more of a wild growth habit to them. When I have the praying hands, you can't even see it. We'll talk about mangaves in another video. Decided to share that one. I like the size on it. So it's a better option to, like I said, keep in a windowsill, something like that. Okay, moving on. The rest of these are perennials. So, maybe not as exciting if you're here for the tropicals. I don't know. They're just plants that I enjoy. Look at the leaves on that. Isn't it pretty? There's something nice and refreshing about it. Not that one. This one over here. Light and refreshing. Proven winners, Dolce, spearmint. Look at the flowers. Look at them. Aren't those beautiful? So I've grown the spearmint. It's a Sun or Shade heuchera. There we go. Probably should have specified that. These are usually good 4 to 9, I believe. Zones 4 to 9. Could be off on that. Let's see here. -30. And these go 16 inches tall. No, 16 inches wide, 8 to 10 inches tall. Jeez. Dyslexia is rearing its head today. I love the spearmint. And that's because of the flowers. So, heucherellas, you usually get, I think, a very nice flower display from a lot of heucherellas. And with the heucheras, kinda. Like, it's okay. But this one right here, there's just such a nice contrast. It's really airy, almost ethereal, and it's one that I think the pollinators enjoy too. I had some Dolce spearmints a couple of years ago that I planted out for somebody else, and they have just thrived. They're in a spot that gets morning sun until early afternoon, and then they're shaded for the rest of the day. They're bordering the garden, and the flower display that they put up is just magnificent. So I thought I would just get one to give it a try, because my yard doesn't really have the same conditions it used to. There's deer, that's what all I should say. I have deer now. So I've been planting out smaller, cheaper heucheras this year to see if the deer are going to go for them. So far, they really only have been eating my hostas, but that's also because most of my front yard is, yews and barberries and roses, things with thorns or are toxic. So, I don't know. We're going to give it a try and see how it goes. I have a spot where I just think that these will look so good. Oh, I have some Ligulera in the front yard. They haven't been touching those. This is Ligulera-ish, but smaller, kind of, shape-wise. I don't know. They'll probably eat it, but I wanted to give it a shot. I also thought that, if it does look like they're chewing it down, then I can lift it up and put it in a container, because they're so incredibly hardy. -30, that is zone 4, right? -20 is zone 5, so -30, yeah, that would be zone 4 on that. That you can keep them in a container where I am. I'm 6B, 7A. So, you want to go 1 to 2 zones below where you are for potted things you keep outside all year, and that should be just fine in a container if I need to do that. Might be nice in the fall arrangements. And the heucheras tend to be semi-evergreen to evergreen here. Just depends on the winters. Usually by late winter, they're looking pretty shabby and need to be cut back, and they flush back out, and they look really good again. I'm sorry, you want attention. Everybody loves you. You get lots of attention here, Turbo. You should read the comments sometime. Everybody loves Turbo. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Poor Turbo. We're going to talk about the plants some more, and then we'll have Turbo time. Can you give me some space? I need some space, Turbo. You're up in my business. Get back a little bit. Come on, back up. All right, we're going to pause. I need to give Turbo some Turbo time, and we'll come back and do some more plant things. Okay, time to move on. I realize I need to take the plastic off of these. Might look nice without the plastic on the containers. There is one thing. I love great garden plants, but just one thing, and it's the hog rings, if that's even what these things are. It's a bit much. I understand it probably makes packaging a lot faster, but you need wire cutters to get the plastic off of these pots, or just take a pair of scissors and really cut away at the plastic until you can get it out from that metal ring that's holding everything on there. I can't find my wire cutter, so it's been about 15 minutes and I've gotten 2 of the plastics off. Just trying to slowly cut the plastic out without damaging the plants. That's it's a lot. I'll take it over tape, that's for sure. Rubber bands will always be my preference. Something just jumped in my pool. What was that sound? We got some big frogs out here, but I don't think there's anything big enough to make that kind of a splash. Oh, you know what? There were some ducks out here earlier. I bet the ducks came in and did their thing and then took off. That's probably what it was. Maybe some pliers. Maybe I can ply it off. I wish I could find my wire cutters. Hey, Pumpkin. You say hi? Hi, Pumpkin. And you know what gets me is I just bought some wire cutters. I can't find them. I always, like, the one thing I always lose are wire cutters. Nope, pliers didn't work. I just went ahead and I cut the pot around the ring to get it off. Next plant. It's a vine. And look at the foliage. It's so dainty. Long leaves. So pretty. Not when you go for the foliage, though. I mean, you can, because it has nice foliage. This is a crossvine, one of the bignonias. This is called Dress to Thrill. So they say the Dress to Thrill crossvine creates more and brighter blooms than any other crossvine. These are evergreen. They bloom spring through summer, loved by hummingbirds. I love a bignonia. I should finish the stats before I go off on that, shouldn't I? Let's get back to the stats. That's important. People need to know these things. Full to part sun. They are native. Again, evergreen. Seasons of interest is basically all of them, which is very nice. They're a zone 6 through 9, 12 to 30 inches tall, 6 to 9 feet wide. If it's a vine, right? Yeah, they get big. Well-drained soil. Best to prune these right after they're done flowering. The bignonia, well, you can't really see it. That's a shame. Well, left a little bit of stuff in there, but you can see it. They have that bright yellowy orange throat that fades into a pink, and then it has that pinkish red orange coral color, I should say, on the outside. Crossvines are fantastic to the pollinators. Pollinators, especially hummingbirds, love these. So I have kept crossvines in the pots with my more cold hardy palms and just allowed them to trail over the last few years, and that has worked wonderfully. Because those palms, like the windmill palm, for example, this might end up underneath the windmill palm, but I keep them outside. They're in a container, right? So they got to go inside around 15 degrees Fahrenheit is when I like to move them inside. But these crossvines, because of that, because they never go below 15 when they're in the containers, they do stay nice and green, and they, for some reason, usually give me some flowers during the winter time too. I guess it's from going from the cold outside to going, oh no, I have to go inside and it's nice and warm. I don't know. But they put on a huge show, very, very colorful. These are great on trellises. These are easier to control than, say, something that's much more aggressive and even invasive in a lot of places, like just the regular trumpet vines, right? Which get huge. They get really thick wood on them. Bignonias have a more fine tendril. See the tendril? The tendril's cute. I love the curly little tendrils. A more fine and delicate growth habit to them, but it's still a vine. They will still grow over structures and, you know, smother out other plants, but they do it more elegantly. If that makes sense. So it's not something like a wisteria or the trumpet vines that get that big heavy wood on them. I just find them easier to prune and maintain, and you can manage their size better, and they still put on a really nice show of flowers. Haven't grown the Dress to Thrill before. I've grown other bignonias, just never the Dress to Thrill. So I'm really looking forward to seeing those bright, vibrant flowers that they have. There are a lot of bignonias that have a nice, vibrant flower, but when you get more into the pinkish shades, there are various colors within the flowers. They are sometimes more pale. So it should be cool. I'm looking forward to that. Probably won't be seeing any blooms on this until next year, maybe even the year after. Just depends on how much growth I can get out of it next year, really. This year, I don't expect much of anything to happen with it. Okay, moving on. Hold on, I need 15 minutes to get the plastic off the pot first. It's a grass. I love a grass. This one right here, it's a little blue stem with a name that I always struggle with. I'm going to say Schizachyrium? Schizachyrium, whatever. The variety is Free Spirit ! It's a blue stem grass. These are native. They're a zone 3 through 10, and these will go about 30 inches high. They form a nice ball. They have a nice shape to them. Just these really nice, upright, somewhat thick blades of grass, and this one has a nice, cool blue tone to it when it's getting the proper light. Right now, it's little, so you can't tell that much. And they have fantastic fall color. There's not much to say about this one other than I just really like it. I like a blue grass. The size is manageable. The little blue stem grasses, whatever the heck that word is, they're very tolerant of a lot of different soils. These do need sun, but they can go down to part sun. You wouldn't want them to stay too wet, I don't believe. I think that I remember the little blue stems being more difficult in the wintertime if they're not getting the right amount of light and they're too exposed. But regardless, they're pretty sturdy. You shouldn't have many troubles with them in zones 3 through 10. That's fantastic. There aren't a lot of plants that are that broad with their zoning, and it's going to have very nice color. I just like to have grasses around for some of my smaller containers. I think they look nice during the winter time, and in the spring they add some life and some texture and some movement to the garden. And just like the heuchera that's a zone 4, but this guy over here being a zone 3, it'll be fine in a pot, right? You want to water every couple weeks. Make sure they're not drying out if you have a dry winter, or dry spells during the winter, but still pretty easy and reliable if you just want to keep them containerized, which is what I probably will be doing with this year. I'm probably going to get worked into some fall planters that will transition into winter, and then spring planters. It'll be a nice filler with some texture. Okay, and the last one, look at that foliage. Isn't it beautiful? The texture, all the speckles. I love the speckles. You can feel them too. Got a nice bumpy habit to it. That doesn't sound great. I don't think bumpy is the texture people are really into. You know what I mean, though? It feels nice on the fingers. This is an Elaeangus, which is from Proven Winners called Mr. Smooth Seedless Thornless Silverthorn. Elaeangus, they're a nice group of plants. There's one that I have tried multiple times called Olive Martini. I'm sure you've seen it. Well, I'm not sure, but maybe you have. Looks like this as far as the texture, growth habit goes, but it's just variegated. They have a yellow margin on them. And when we have really wet winters, they don't do so well for me. So I'm going to be sure to put this in a spot that drains really, really well. The Mr. Smooth Seedless Silverthorn goes from full sun. They can usually take shade. Elaeangus are usually good in the shade, so you got a broad range there with these. 4 to 6 feet tall, and it's a zone 6 through 9. It says these are good for hedges, screening, foundations, or just as a specimen plant. Their deer resistance is high, so this will be going in my front yard. I really like the Elaeangus for taking clippings off of during the winter time and having them in different arrangements and things like that. They have that frosty appearance to them, and they look really cool. It's not a lot else to say other than it's just a nice shrub. It can be hard to find evergreens sometimes that aren't just your, pines, conifers, those sorts of things. That's why I like to try the laurels and rhododendrons and azaleas and hollies and those things, but getting into something like this, you just get a nice shape to them. They have a beautiful silvery appearance to them because of the speckles that are raised up on the leaves there. Makes the light bounce and look silvery. I also like that the wood has that nice warm tone to it, so you get some contrast in there. And these are a plant that, like I said, they're pretty dang versatile, right? Wet feet in the winter, that's the main thing I've had experience with any Elaeangus. They don't really like that. So I generally plant them higher, like I would with a lavender, say, because I'm 6B, 7A. Even though I'm zone 6B, 7A, it's only been a few years since we were like negative 14, which would make us 6A, right? So by planting them up higher, I don't have to worry about root collecting right around the base of the plant as much, and then if we're having a bad winter, I just make sure to mulch it really, really well. Sometimes some protection, frost cloths, those sorts of things can go a long way with a broadleaf evergreen to keep the moisture from being blown out of the plant and the plant getting wind burnt. But just look at it. Isn't that beautiful? It has a stiff leaf, yet it still has a fine, soft appearance to it. I really like these. It gives me the vibes of a ficus, like if a ficus, just, a Benjamin ficus and maybe a eucalyptus had a baby, or an olive, right? It's an olive, Elaeangus, right? So something like that. I think they're beautiful. I would actually be interested in trying one of these as a houseplant sometime. Not this one. This one's going to go into the garden. It needs some water. It's kind of thirsty, but that's to be expected. They were just in a package and got jumbled around some. Really, the roughest thing these have gone through is me trying to get the plastic and the metal rings off of them. I'm pretty sure I mentioned I resorted to just cut the pot around the ring. Makes it a lot easier, but I did have to, tug and pull a lot. But it doesn't matter. They look good. I believe these have more of a medium growth rate, at least the Olive Martini. That always grew fairly medium for me. It wasn't really fast, wasn't terribly slow. they don't get terribly big either. So when plants don't get terribly big, I don't usually expect them to grow all that fast, at least not with an evergreen type shrub, right? But I will give an Elaeagus points on that one. Am I even saying that right? I just realized that I've never really heard anybody else say the word. I've only ever read it. Huh. Oh, probably not. I've been saying Elaeagus. This is probably more like Elaeagnus. Silverthorn. We'll just stick with that. Elaeagnus. Who knows? You get what I'm talking about. You can't really see the picture here all that well. One, because there's a weed stuck to where the adhesive used to be. But you get the picture. It's a really nice, pretty shrub. I like them. I haven't noticed them to be like some things like the azaleas and rhododendrons, where I have to be more on top of the acidity with the soil with them, which is really, really good. I don't know how they would fare in, a high pH soil. My soil, I have, lots of diverse soil in my garden, from areas where I've amended for a lot of years and areas where it's more like construction fill from years past. So it generally ranges from like, I think the most acidic is like 6.2, and I've seen areas as high as 7.4. I know, very, very, very broad and unusual, but that's, like I said, I've spent years amending some areas. That's where the pH is lower, and then other areas where there's some more clay and things are higher. But I don't really imagine that's going to be an issue for this shrub. You can probably put it in any one of those situations. It'll be just fine. Great plant. I love things with year-round interest and evergreen. Like I said, I kind of want to get one of these and try them out as a house plant. I just want to see how it would do. I think that they would do well indoors. Basing that off of nothing, maybe a spider mite magnet. I'm not sure, though. I don't know. I think that it's more, I would always think that it has spider mites, because, it kind of looks like it's covered in bugs when you get up close. From far behind, from standing back, from a distance, you don't really notice that. You just get more of that silvery hue. But it's when I get up close and I go, uh-oh, I need to clean those leaves off. This isn't good. It's not good. When it is, it's fine. Everything's fine. These are beautiful plants. I really enjoy ordering things from Great Garden Plants. They have a really nice selection. I don't actually know if this one or the Dress to Thrill Bignonia are going to be fully out from Proven Winners until next year. I'm pretty sure this is a new for 2026, but they had it on the site. I didn't have to do anything special to get it. Sometimes Proven Winners, but particularly this year, they've been releasing some of their plants that are meant for next year at the end of the growing season to people, which I think is nice. Been able to try some of the newer Ipomoeas and the Vista Cool Jazz. I wanted to get my hands on one of those this season, see if I like it for next year. That's really nifty, particularly with the annuals. The perennials, especially something like this, where I do have to be more cognizant of winter survival. I would prefer to plant this in the spring, right? Because that way it has all growing season to put its roots down and establish itself before taking on the harsh reality of what our winters are here. I guess I'm thinking about it like that. Maybe I could pot it up and just keep it as a houseplant this year. Oh, a laurel. It kind of looks like a bay plant too, doesn't it? It has stiff leaves with a silvery tone, so that's where I'm drawing all my associations from. Not that bay laurel has a silvery tone, but those stiff leaves, you get it. All right, that's all. Fun plants here, just the 4 of them, but they're 4 plants that I think are pretty exciting. I guess the grass maybe isn't, but I don't know. I love grasses. It's to each their own kind of situation, right? Comment down below, what are some fun plants you've been trying? Have you tried this particular Silverthorn, the Mr. Smooth, or any of the others? That Olive Martini, like I said, that's a pretty common one. And the mangaves. Do you love the mangaves? Bignonias, heucheras, all of them. Just let me know what's going on in your gardens. Everybody's doing well, and a great day, a great life, and everything's going absolutely beautifully for you. And of course, as always, and most importantly, everybody, keep on growing. Bye-bye.